Hello and welcome to my first video. I Love Scooby and I do love Scooby Doo. For starters, for this video, I am going to do a classic tier list of every Scooby movie that there has ever been. If I miss a few, it's because this list just didn't include them, like in the list down here. I don't know why they weren't there, but they weren't. So, this channel will not just be about Scooby, but it's what I love, so that's what I'm doing. In terms of these rankings, I am going to keep them all, except for these two right here. I'm going to change one to meh, and this one to never see again. Especially since I have literally seen every Scooby movie that there has ever been, so there really is just any ones that I just haven't seen. It's a lie because I've seen all of them. And of course, I'm also going to change these to good, just because sure there should be something between those, but they're either good or I don't care about them. Case in point with Scooby Doo and the Goblin King, I'm gonna change that to meh. Mostly because in general, the movies that included the real monsters and real ghosts and stuff, that's not as classic Scooby-Doo as other movies. But at the same time, this one also gains a few points for the fact that it is Shaggy and Scooby, the two most cowardly members of the gang, going through all of this. While you have the other three members just kind of literally not really doing much, except it was hilarious watching Velma lose her mind when she meets a literal fairy. That really it was hilarious. Ooh, this one I might get some dislikes about, but I actually do like these Cartoon Network Scooby movies. And Curse of the Lake Monster, I did actually like it. The only parts that I didn't like were the awkwardness between Shaggy and Velma and how they tried to date. In fact, the dating drama of this movie is really what makes it lose points. Although the whole sweetness between Shaggy singing Velma's favorite song to her to snap her out of the witch's spell, that one was really good. It was so sweet and just a really good moment, and it shows those two definitely did get close in between all the awkwardness. Ooh, yep. This one right here, the 13th Ghost. I'm putting it right down there. Never see again. I dislike that movie so much. And my reason would be the fact that it literally is another movie that makes Velma completely and utterly delusional about there being no such things as ghosts and monsters. Sure, that's always been a part of her character, but when you have those Shaggy, Scooby, and Daphne literally telling her all about this and their adventures, and her being completely in denial or just losing her mind over it, it destroys a really good character. Yes, Velma is classically against the idea of all this existing, but when you make it literally every part of her character, that it ruins her. Especially when Velma is the brains. And even as her brains, she's not smug in her knowledge. Oh, but here is one of the best ones ever, The Witch's Ghost. I love that movie. Literally, just period. I love it. You have the introduction of the Hex Girls. You have the fact that it does a whodunit with the original fake witch, but then you actually have the real witch appear with Ben Ravencroft's betrayal, and it dials the movie from a 10 to a 20, and that's on a 1 to 10 scale, so that just shows how good it is. Oh, the Alien Invasion movie. Sorry about all those that like this, but I'm putting it in meh. Because anyone that knows me knows that I dislike aliens. I think they're overused in a general sense. I have not seen any of the Alien Predator movies, and I don't want to because I dislike aliens. And the fact that my dad believes in them drives me insane. But skipping all of that, the movie does get a few points because it was the one time where a love interest for Shaggy actually worked. Yes, it turned out that she was an alien, but the chemistry between her and Shaggy, it made every part of them being together so amazing. Ooh, Pirates Ahoy. I love Pirates Ahoy. I'm gonna move that to iconic. It's okay. Scooby Doo battling pirates. I will always be there for that. Whether it's in this movie or it was the classic Redbeard the pirate from Where Are You? But you move that into all of that really cool stuff with the Bermuda Triangle and the fact that literally all of it was remote controls and all part of the show. Like that just makes it really cool how much effort it was put in to make the Bermuda Triangle seem really just what it was. Just a mysterious place where things vanish and it could literally be all about that meteor that turned out was gold. Of course, like the whole idea that the triangle itself wanted the meteor back, it lost like 1 point there, but the rest of the movie pretty much made up for that. Up, Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. That's going right up here. Now, there is no actual order for when things are placed in the actual tiers, other than, like, the actual tiers itself, but Scooby Doo on Zombie Island. The best Scooby movie of all time. I am marking it there. I love it. I love it. And again, I love it. Because, like, if you are a Scooby fan and you say that you have not jammed out to It's Terror Time, you are lying. Like, I don't want to upset anyone, but it's like, you jam out to that song if you're a Scooby fan. I'm saying it. I'm saying it. It's true. It really is true. Ooh, the original Scooby Doo. I'm probably going to again get hate for this, but I'm putting it there. Mostly because I really am just a big fan of like how the family itself that is Scooby and the gang, they are a family. They are loyal to each other, and the fact that this movie broke them up makes me so angry every time I watch that scene. And yes, I've still seen this movie several times, even when I don't like it that much. But this movie in general is good. Making Scrappy the villain, how he is literally the butt of every Scooby joke, like that actually it was funny and I liked it. And plus, though, what were those creatures? Like the ones that they were trying to put into people. The fact that they were never really explained what they were, where they came from, made everything just very weird in every possible way. Ooh, Scooby Doo and the Boo Brothers. This one's also going to meh. Mostly because like in my mind, this movie takes place in the same universe as the Ghoul School right here. So the fact that literally neither of them are mentioned, like in terms it like with each other, like it just makes it all the more just weird. And plus, that girl that was kind of chasing around Shaggy, saying she loves him or whatever, she was just odd. Like she was odd. But it's in Matt instead of Never See Again because the Boo Brothers themselves are hilarious in so many ways. They really truly are. Although the Ghoul School itself, I'm actually gonna put that in good. Because like you have Shaggy and Scooby, the ones that are the most terrified and scared of monsters and ghosts, being the ones that literally teach at a school for monster girls. Like the fact that they're confronted with this reality, the fact that yes, monsters can still, act like people, and the fact that they bond with the girls, it's so sweet and I love it every single way, but it loses a bunch of points for that volleyball game. It made no sense to the plot, it made no sense in general, and really the cadet boys, they generally annoyed me so much. Sword in the Scoob, one of the newer ones. I'm gonna put that down in meh. Plus, Mostly because that librarian woman that was, the one that was Morgan Le Fay, and like she tried to then take the entire town for herself. That definitely did not make any sense at all. Because like, especially since it came so out of the blue. Like, if they just kept it the whole, the town itself does not want Shaggy to take over, even when he does not know that, that would have just, like, that probably would have just been better. Especially since it could have just been a happy ending for everyone without anybody going to jail. Ooh, Batman, the Brave and the Bold with Scooby. I loved it. I know there are probably a bunch of people that dislike that movie, but I do love it. Because, like, yes, I do love Batman the Brave and the Bold. And any crossover with Scooby Doo and Batman, I will watch, even if it's bad, because, like, I will still think it's good, because, like, I love those two together. But let's. And plus, you had the other inclusion of the other heroes, the Question, Black Canary, Aquaman. Like, it just makes everything better. Ooh, Reluctant Werewolf. Yeah, that's going right down there. For the biggest reason, Googie, Shaggy's girlfriend. No sense at all to have her around. Like, I literally think she was around because they needed a character to be with Scrappy driving around their race car while Shaggy was trying to race the werewolf car. Like, I think that's literally the only reason why they created her character, so that Scrappy can be driven around. Sorry if I pause a lot. This is my first video, so I apologize for my pauses to breathe. Okay, another one that's going right down there, the puppet one. It's because it's a movie with puppets. Scooby Doo is its own thing. It is not related to Sesame Street in any way. It's not related to Elmo or any of that. It's Scooby. It should not be puppets. End of story. Ooh, but the Happy Halloween Scooby Doo. I loved it. I really truly did. Because like I pointed out, I love the whole Batman connection. So the fact that the Scarecrow, one of his biggest villains, is in this movie, I loved it. And like you would think with a movie that included the Scarecrow, Elvira, and Bill Nye the Science Guy into all one movie, you would think that would be too much, but no. This movie had it all working in perfect harmony with a great villain. And plus the entire chase scene with the highway, it was a masterpiece. I loved it. And the fact that they all ended up on in Elvira's car, like, or was it, I don't know. The fact that they just like, it was great. The entire scene was amazing. Ooh, another extremely big classic, and that would be the Cyber Chase. It was literally one of my favorites as a kid, and it still is one of my favorites now. Like, the gang getting trapped in cyberspace it's a masterpiece on its own. But when you have them meet themselves, their actual characters in the game, like, it just makes everything just better. Especially since, like, when you can obviously tell the difference between them because of, like, there are staticky, like, computer voices and the different clothes. Like, instead of having them look exactly alike, that makes it better. And the other big nostalgia point, the inclusion of the Creeper, the Gator Ghoul, the Tar Monster, Jaguaro, and Iron Face. Chef's kiss. Love nostalgia more than anything else. Chill out, Scooby. I dislike that movie. Like, it gains a few points for the actual design of the Abominable Snowman was actually really good. And plus, it was very hilarious when Shaggy and Scooby were separated from the rest of the gang because they took a different plane. That part will always be hilarious, especially with that ending scene of Fred ending up in the Amazon, and and Daphne really wants to go to Paris. That will always be funny, but it loses a bunch of points for the actual motivation of the girl that was the Abominable Snowman. It was awful. She fell in love with Dev, of all people, from the Loch Ness Monster movie. He was the worst character in that movie, annoying on all types. So the fact that he got a girl like that to fall in love with him because of a radio show, that I can't talk more about that because I will not stop of how much I dislike that. Although speaking of Loch Ness Monster, let's move that up to iconic. I do love that movie so much. Plus, especially since like you got like the whole Blake family having a castle in Scotland. You had the classic Loch Ness Monster being used in like three different forms. That was actually really good, especially since it actually ended up making a whole bunch of sense in the end. You had the professor that really wanted to prove the Loch Ness Monster existed. You you had the two friends, brothers, whatever they are, just wanting to mess with people. And then you had the like hinted at real Loch Ness Monster being around. Everything about that is just really good. Hmm. Ooh, Samurai Scoob. Hmm. I am going to put that down for. Let's see. It's a tough choice between good and meh. Actually, I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna end up putting it in good. Like there are parts of this movie that I disliked, especially to the point where they actually had like the samurai being real, the dragon being real, instead of it just being just like all of a hoax in the end. Like that was where it lost points, especially since like literally everything else about the movie was real. Because you had the robot ninjas, you had the school owner fighter woman being the villain, like, and you had like you had that sumo guy, the big guy, being like the actual samurai. Like it literally could have just been about them rather than making the samurai ghost real. That probably would have made it a lot better. Although you get to see badass Daphne in all of her fighting, and that just makes everything better. I love that. And plus, Shaggy and Scooby getting away with the jet on the jetpack, I love that scene. Scoob, another of the newer ones. I'm gonna put that in good. Like it's good when you have it as a standalone thing, especially since like it had its own origin and you had the inclusion of those like the Blue Falcon and Captain Caveman and Dick Dastardly. But at the same time, when you think about it, Scooby snacks are supposed to have been invented like after Scooby was named because like they're supposed to be like named after him. So the fact that this movie literally takes it the opposite way and have Scooby named after the snacks, that's where it lost a bunch of points to me, even if that scene in the trailer was funny. Ooh, this one, it was one that went downhill when it could have been good. Like the entire storyline of the whole hallucinations with Destructor and the superpowered rock stars, I hated that more than anything else in the entire world. I disliked it. Like, sure, it would have been cool. It would be cool if Kiss did have these powers, but in general, it stunk. It really did stink. I hated it. I hated every single second of that. Like, it really would have just been so bad, so much better if it was just the classic whodunit. You can't mess with the classics, people. I'm telling you that right now. Ooh, the Blue Falcon. I'm putting that down there as well because when you go back to Scoob, the Blue Falcon is a real hero and not an actor. Especially since you also had the Blue Falcon appear in Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated, as well as Scooby Doo and Guess Who, where he was both a real hero both times. So in this one, where he was changed to an actor that kind of lost his mind and just wants attention, that lost it every single point it could possibly have. Music of the Vampire. I'm going that up to iconic. People in general, they dislike musical things when it comes out of nowhere because you had like the Monster High musical movie, you had the Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode that's generally liked, but when it comes to things like like with like the Monster High musical, people dislike them. But I loved this movie. The music was actually really good, even if it had no reason to be there. You had the vampire actors, which I thought were great. And just in general, the movie just, it rocked, both literally and musically. Aloha Scooby Doo. I'm moving that up to Masterpiece. I love that movie so very much. Like, especially since, like, it kind of beat a few stereotypes as well when you think about it. Because, like, one of the villains, Snooky, she is, like, the stereotypical surfer girl with the surfer boyfriend. Like, they're generally not supposed to be, bright. But she is the robotic expert, literally, when she invented the mini tikis. Like, that broke a stereotype that I didn't even know that I wanted broken. But I want. But this movie was such a masterpiece. It really was. Hence the name of this tier. Ooh, and another good one that I probably am going to get, again, it's probably some hate for. Scooby Doo The Mystery Begins. I did love that movie. I did. Although I can't put it in iconic because it is generally disliked, but I personally loved it. Like, you had its own origin for the gang. You had Scooby remain a talking dog instead of, just a dog. And plus, it was also a masterpiece in terms of, like, when they actually mixed the whole, both real ghost as well as a fake ghost. And plus, in general, Scooby is not really shown. Literally, I don't really think there's much here that is explains in terms of age for the gang, but this one sets them in high school, and I think that adds to the whole story. The fact that they don't want to get kicked out of school, and that's why they're trying to prove their innocence. But it's like, yeah, the fact that it's not liked by other people, that I'm taking other people's opinions into consideration for where it's placed. But in terms of one that I will never hide my dislike of, Return to Zombie Island. It's going right down there, right at the very bottom. I will never watch that movie again because it stunk in so many ways. Because, like, again, it made Velma's character completely about her inability to believe in anything other than facts and science and stuff. Especially since, like, you literally had everything happen in Zombie Island right in front of her, and yet she completely and utterly denies all of that in this movie. And plus, you had the great character that is Bo Neville, the cop slash gardener that was investigating disappearances on the island. You had his great character in Zombie Island, and he was completely abandoned in Return to Zombie Island. He was not mentioned, he was not shown. It was literally like he didn't exist at all. I dislike that so much. Stage fright. I love stage fright. Mostly because yes, you had, the romance between Fred and Daphne in Curse of the Lake Monster. But this is the classic anime, well, one of the classic animes. You had the animated Scooby have the first actual real shown kiss for Daphne and Fred. I loved it. Plus, I actually did like the entire talent show part. Yes, most of the acts quit because of all the phantoms running around. But, like, seriously, there were 4 phantoms, I think. Like, in this one movie. And, like, I actually live for that. Because, like, it just makes it so cool. But it was actually really cool. Even if the entire thing, like, ended with, like, only 3 acts. Like, it probably would have been, like, maybe a little bit better if there were more. But it's, all in all, it was a great movie. Plus, it's as well as one of the best opener songs ever. Big Top Scooby Doo. Putting that in good. You don't really have many conflicts happen between Shaggy and Scooby. But in this one where you have Shaggy taking credit for Scooby's amazing circus act, like calling him, his Scooby's trainer. Like, it's one of the few times they actually do fight in a movie, and you have the tension between them. I actually really like that. But it does lose points with the whole reveal of the strongman being a part of, like, the whole villain duo and a part of the villains. Like, you're really not really a lot of sense there. I think they literally just added that part because they wanted, like, the big chase scene for on the train. Ooh, Scooby Doo and the Phantasaur. I'm gonna put that down to meh. Mostly because, like, the whole the hypnosis thing, the brave Shaggy, the idea that he's literally not supposed to be scared when he's scared all the time. Uh, I I hated that part of the movie. I really did. Especially since, like, it really did not it didn't go anywhere in the movie since everything was reversed at the end. Even if you did have that funny thing about everybody believing they were Shaggy, but that really was literally all it ended up being. Although I will admit that I actually really liked the biker gang being, like, ended up being good guys. They started out being bullies at the start. And as well as that love interest Ravelma was actually very sweet and cute. I did like that. Ooh, let's see now. Moon Monster Madness. I'm gonna go for good. Like, it does lose points for the fact that it's unrealistic for even Scooby Doo, of all people, to go into space. But at the same time, I loved that Shannon ended up being the villain, and I loved the entire thing with, like, all these different characters with, you have the U-boat, the football star, you have the veteran astronauts, you have the millionaire, billionaire, whoever he was. You have literally all these people, and the movie makes them all work in perfect harmony, and that's not the most well shown thing ever. Because, like, when you have a bunch of characters, it's hard to make them work together. But, like, in this movie, it actually worked very well. But again, it's set in space, so that's why it's down there. But here is one of my all-time favorites. I love Scooby Doo Where's My Mummy? Like, the literally biggest twist in every Scooby movie ever, when Velma, of all people, turned out to be the ghost of Cleopatra. And, like, she was not hypnotized or brainwashed or anything. She was doing it all on her own to stop treasure hunters. Like, you cannot imagine anything else in the entire world of Scooby that could be better than that. Like, literally, I'm just saying it. I'm just saying. If anybody disagrees, well, haters back off. Ooh, Gourmet Ghost. Meh. Again, I apologize for my pausing. My first video and my throat's getting dry. I'm putting Gourmet Ghost in meh because as much as I love the Food Network, I do, and I do like Bobby Flay, and I love Giotto De Laurentiis, I'm so confused when it comes to whole Bobby being Fred's uncle. Couldn't they just have them being friends with Bobby rather than him being a relative of one of them? Because in general, it really does make no sense where they literally have to put a relative of, like, one of the gang members into it just so to make them go to the area where the hauntings are. Like, that's it. It's just something I dislike about that. Like, yes, the gang is very lucky, hence when they went to space and when they also got on the cruise from Fred's parents for Pirates Ahoy. But, like, with this one, it wasn't luck, it was just a silly thing where Bobby Flay happens to be Fred's uncle. And it really just no sense at all. Abracadabra Do. That one was good. I did really like that movie. Especially since of the few times where Shaggy does get a love interest, such as, like the alien invasion, Curse of the Lake Monster, and, and even a little bit with Boo Brothers with that crazy girl. But with Abracadabra Do, with him and Velma's sister having those moments together, they have a chemistry that actually is undeniable. And even when she is Velma's sister, and, like, there could be all of that going on, but at the same time, like, it is really good. And plus, I loved actually the hologram with the Banshee. I love how everybody had a happy ending with no police being involved. Like, I loved all of that. I did. Straight out of nowhere, the newest one in all of Scooby Doo. I'm giving you points mostly for nostalgia and it being good. Like I love Courage the Cowardly Dog. I love Scooby. Put them together, it could have been a masterpiece. But the fact that they made Nowhere being completely weird because of a meteor underneath the city slash the farmhouse, I just I can't even with like how weird that seems. Like the when you have the nostalgia of also the two villains from Courage, Cats and that duck, like their motive could have been like like a giant gem under the farmhouse or like a giant cavern of crystals. That would have and they were trying to use the giant fake the bugs could have been fake and they were trying to use them to scare everybody away. That would have been a better motive than like trying to get a meteor and then take over the world. Like every part about that was just it was just weird, even in terms of the things that happen in Courage. Ooh, they Shaggy Showdown. I'm gonna put that for meh. Like in terms like it is one of the better movies that have happened in recent years, but it also didn't really seem like anything special. Like sure, Shaggy turned out to like be a person that looks identical to who they thought was the bad guy, who turned out to be the good guy. Like, but at the same time, the actual villain did not make any sense. Like it was just this random guy that like works or doesn't work at the farmhouse. Like and like he had a partner as well. Like that part like is where you really lost me. Although that child pop star that like rode on Scooby's back was adorable. Like it was literally my favorite part of the entire movie. You know what? I'm gonna change it. I'm moving it up to good. It was good. But now a movie that I really loved and I will watch over and over again, and that would be Camp Scare. I'm moving that to iconic. Mostly because the actual characters that were added, Luke, Trudy, Bert, they did add to this the entire story of the movie. And plus, Luke and Fred together, they look like father and son. I'm just gonna say it, even though the gang in general, they're supposed to be like late teens, early 20s, like ages never specified except for like, the Cartoon Network movies. But with this one, it was adorable when you had like Velma bonding with Trudy, when you had Fred bonding with Luke. Like, I loved all of that very much. And plus, even when like the whole Treasure and Ricky LaRue thing, like yes, that could be a bit out of left field, but it's like at the same time, it really was great. I'm probably gonna get more hate for this one, but Daphne and Velma, I thought it was really good. I did. Mostly because I love Sarah Jeffrey. She was good in Descendants. She was great in Charmed. And I know the actress that played Velma also was on the Disney show. I didn't do it. They were both really good actresses. And plus you had that nod to like Daphne's classic outfit, even though she changed like I think it was an alien shirt or whatever. But you had that nod to like her her original classic outfits. And I really like that. It does lose points because like a woman pretending to be a high school student to gain ideas for her company's products by stealing them from teenagers. That was really just odd. Oh, Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. I'm putting it right here, right there, because it was beyond flippin' amazing. Like, not only was it a hell of a lot better than the original Scooby Doo, but like the nostalgia really should be why it's up here. But the movie itself was also amazing because like you had like the tar monster, you had the 10,000 volt ghosts, the Black Knight, the pterodactyl ghost. All of them were very amazing, but you also had like the sweet moments between Fred and Daphne. You had the best scene in all of Scooby Doo, which was Velma telling Shaggy and Scooby that they were heroes all along and she just loved them for being who they were. Like, the best scene ever. Like, I love it, I always will, and it's the best one ever, except for Zombie Island. And I will say that to my grave. Monster of Mexico. Hmm. It was another iconic one. I do love it. Especially since, like, I like it when original, like, like, when original characters are, like, they're sometimes they're not very good, but with this one it actually really was good. When you had the two brothers, you had their families, and like the villain being Charlene. She was a hilarious flippin' villain. Like the way she would talk and the coffee, like it really was so much fun to watch her. Ooh, let's see. Ooh, the wrestling race one. I'm gonna put that in meh. I personally like it, but it was again another unnecessary sequel, just like Zombie Island. But it gets points because you're anyone where you have Shaggy and Scooby being the ultimate WWE superfans. I love, but it's just down here because again, it wasn't didn't seem very necessary. Although in terms of the one before it, the actual wrestling one, it actually is shooting all the way up here because I loved WrestleMania. Because, like, the whole post Knob suggestion, steal the championship belt, the fact that it was Cookie, like, literally every part of this movie was super well done. Especially since, like, you actually had the actual wrestlers, and you had John Cena, Sin Cara, literally all of them were amazing in this movie. Especially with how funny Fred was when it came to his jealousy of John Cena. Like, uh, it's funny. Ooh, Franken Creepy. Franken Creep. That was a that was a really good movie. It only loses a few points with the fact that the whole lesson that Velma says at the end, with the gang loving each other more than like the things that the villains try to take from them, because like Daphne, the Mystery Machine, Daphne's beauty, Shaggy and Scooby's love of eating, like yeah, those were temporarily taken away from them, but it could have been made a bigger deal for the thing that Velma said at the end of them loving each other more than all these things, like that could have been a bigger thing. So it's like that's where it loses a few points, but it gains a lot of them because of nostalgia. When you have, like the classic villains of Iron Face and Redbeard, them being brought back in these new roles was really just great. And now the final movie, Scooby Doo: Legend of the Vampire. I'm putting that in iconic. Because like again, you have the Hex Girls and them returning. You had the really cool thing about the Yahoo being this incredibly realistic looking hologram. The only thing where you lose me a little bit, I didn't think the two skinny dudes, like the disguises for two members of Wild Wind, I didn't think they were necessarily necessary. It was just very weird, and like I just think if they just got rid of the other bands, then like just Wild Wind could just like perform at the end. Like it literally could have been about like them taking the last band that was about to perform for the actual event, and then Wild Wind appears, and like that really could have just been about it all. And really, that's where you just lose points. But the rest of the movie was, well, it was really perfect. And thank you for coming for my worst video. Again, I apologize for all my pauses and my breathing and my coughing. My first video, I hope you all like it. Please like and subscribe, and I will see y'all another time.